Hi guys, my name is John McIlhattan and I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit more to you. Well, I'm born and raised in southwest Montana, specifically in Bozeman, Montana. And I was raised in the farm and veterinary culture. My dad was a veterinarian and my mom was a really jack of all trades, but more than anything a personal trainer. Buffalo were 100 feet from my bedroom, so they were I literally was raised right next to buffalo, and every single morning we'd go out and feed those kind of animals just even before dawn, usually about 5:30 in the morning. And my dad worked two jobs. One, he was a veterinarian, the other one, he was a farmer. And both of those are very volatile hours. You're literally a slave to those kind of hours. And they just don't allow you any kind of freedom. So they're all, I mean, you have to, there's no, there's no knowing what time you're going to be there. For the farm work, he was there, depending on the time of the year, he would start at 5 in the morning and he would go until 10 a.m. Then he'd do veterinary work, and then as soon as he got off from the veterinary work, he'd go and do farm work because depending on that time of the year, that's just what you had to do. You had to go with the weather and you had to get the job done. And then since he was the only one that was qualified to be able to do surgeries with animals, he would have to go and do emergency hours midnight to 3 in the morning sometimes. And he absolutely loved to do what he did, which was great, but there's no flexible hours, and I really didn't get to know him until I got into college. And I want to fast forward to college for that reason because college is really what just spun my life around. My sophomore year, he was diagnosed with a disease called ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a neuromuscular disorder. And I was right there in the office when the doctor said that, John, because that was my dad's name, was John Alton McIlhattan. You have less than 6 months to live, and that that really hits you hard. I mean, I was 20 years old, 19 years old at the time, and it's just not a message that you're ready for at any age, let alone 19. And so I decided to stick with him through school because he was pretty emotionally and spiritually crippled at that point, and I didn't want him to be hurt even more by seeing that it really affected me. So I decided to stay with school while I took care of him for in the year and a half that he fought it until he passed on 2007. But it really hit home because I mean it's hard to be able to focus and concentrate on anything, let alone school, when you have that going on in the background. So, needless to say, things like GPA slipped down, went from somewhere over a 3.0 student to just over a 1.0 student in about 2 semesters. So it didn't help that at all. But what really started changing things for me was uh, during my morning process, he had previously written me a note that was called the McIlhattan motto, and it really just basically said in his own words, "Don't let your mind get in the way of your accomplishments." And that really just hit home with me. And between that and after I got done with school, trying to figure out what the next phase of life would be, saw so many fellow colleagues and friends going through the same thing that they were going to do a job that they would have that would dictate their lives, that they would have the pause their lives for. They'd be a slave to their hours and they'd be confined. And I just didn't want that for my life. I want something that was flexible, that provide freedom for me to be able to be with who I would like to, and basically live life on my own terms. And so between the message and school of learning those lessons, that was it for me. I wanted to find a way to be able and really be there so that my kids knew who I was, because I didn't really know who my dad was until he got the disease and he started fighting with it. Then we got to know each other, and that's not how I want my family to be. I want to be able and have a family that knows me because I can be there in their most important parts for them. I don't have to ship off to a job. So that's a big reason why I went to the pro. And so I was trying to, after school, I was trying to figure it all out, trying to figure out, okay, how, can I do this to get own business, have flexible hours, be able to make my own way in this world. And so the first thing I did was look at online, and I hit some MLMs. Didn't really know what MLM was at the time. I know a lot better now. but got really kind of trapped with MLM because I wasn't given any resources or skills, any kind of education on how to make it work. I was just simply doing what my upline told me to do, and I was just throwing money at it and threw thousands of dollars on it with very, very little show for it. My biggest paycheck was under $50, and when you're spending that much and only earning that much, it doesn't add up. So from there, I ended up doing a business for insurance. I'm gonna leave them nameless right now, although my business card's gonna pop up here in a little bit. But did then realize that's not what I want it to be either, because you have so many things that you have to worry about: employees' liability, insurance, the space, how much that's gonna cost, all these office expenses, and in today's day and age, you just don't need to do that. So that's when I finally was really, really ambitious about trying to figure it out, and I was going to find a system no matter what it took. And so that's what I did. Is I ended up finding that system, and it's called ProU, and it really has resonated with me and taught me how to be the guy I am today, and it's given me the empowerment and inspiration, motivation to be able and become the internet entrepreneur and internet marketer that I am. And I'm also a marketing strategist for some local businesses in my area, as well as a consultant, showing people how they can use and really leverage this great tool that we have. So that's really what it came down to. Was I went from, I, what I really did was I ended up finding out that I had to make my own way because of my choice to stay with my dad through a struggle. Because when your GPA tanks that much, from that 3.0 to that 1.0, and you try to work it back up, no one really listens to why did that happen. I mean, they don't have the transcripts showing, I went from this down here up to there again. So you really have to have the experience. But since I was taking care of my dad and I decided to go full time, didn't have the experience. So it's really kind of like that choice to get to know him better was almost like a punishment, and no one would take me because of those two reasons, despite my business degree. So Pro U ended up taking me in, and they showed me how to really make these things work the way that they should be. So they gave me the knowledge, and they really showed me ways to really give me self mastery with it. And I encourage you to take a look at it and find if it's going to be the right thing, right fit